So today I'm going to talk about how Onmyo Magic Jutsu power points affect buffs and debuffs in this game. If you missed my last video, it was about the buffs and debuffs and kind of the percentages that they give you whenever you cast them. But before all that, I just wanted to show you the Gold Nioh Armor, which you should have gotten from the patch today. If you haven't, go to Boons in the Shrine menu and you can get it there.
Search.
Feeling something like Rick Moranis, blew up the kid, now he doing damage. You ought to know, like my name's Alanis. Say don't me, take a seat, young Christopher Hansen. I don't sweat all day, just a line.
So first off, I want to tell you a little bit about my testing method. So first I used a Book of Reincarnation and I just wiped all my levels clean. And I wanted to start fresh, and I used a sword during this whole testing period. Sometimes I use a Kasurigama to finish off the enemy because I have a very well leveled one. But basically the point that I was trying to make was how these points affect buffs and debuffs in this game. And you know, a lot of people on my previous video were asking how they affected them, and I didn't truly know, so I wanted to do these tests. So what I did was I started off at level 30 on both magic and dexterity. And this, of course, is going to increase the Onmyo magic power and Ninjutsu power. And I wanted to see how this affected the buffs. So basically, I went from level 30, and then after I tried out all these buffs, and I did the Power Pill, the Carnage Talisman, the Steel Talisman, the Weakness Talisman, and the Devigorate Talisman. I tested all of those, and I wanted to see how it affected those buffs through skill points. And I found some pretty cool stuff. And basically what I did was I went up 10 levels every time. I did level 30, level 40, level 50, and level 60. And I tested every single one at those levels until I got the accurate numbers. So what I found out was, if you remember in my last video, I said that a power pill wasn't giving me a certain damage percentage. There were two different damage percentages that I got, and that was 25 and 40%. Well, the giant toad, I got 40% whenever I was testing the first time. So whenever I started this again, I was kind of confused whenever I got, I think it was 21%. Yeah, it's 21%. But I was kind of confused because that's a huge difference between the numbers. And it was pretty simple. I figured it out. Basically, it was because I take a lot of skill. I use skill a lot for my Kasurigama build, so it actually gives you more jutsu points. Therefore, it raised the ability to 40% for this particular enemy. And I'm really going to get started on every single one of these and tell you a little bit about them. So for the Power Pill, my numbers were, at level 30, I got a 21% increase to damage. 40, I got a 23%, 25 at 50, and 27 at 60, which means that I got a 2% increase every 10 levels for Jutsu. And, you know, it's decent, especially if you're using skill, you're using, you know, a Kasurigama or a dual sword build. You know, Jutsu is going to be great. Power Pills, it's a pretty solid buff. Next I moved on to Carnage. And this one was a little bit interesting. No matter how many Onmyo magic points I had, how much magic power I had, it did not increase at all. It was 82% every time that I tested it, or 107%. And this is the same numbers that I got in the last video. The one thing that I will tell you is there's a 98% decrease to your own defense. But I'm going to tell you something interesting about that in a minute. So just hold on. So the next thing I tested was the Steel Talisman. And just like in my previous video, it was right around 6% starting at level 30. And moving up, I got a 0.3% increase for every 10 Onmyo magic levels that I leveled up. It was pretty poor. So by the time that I got to level 60, it was only a 7.2% increase. So the Steel Talisman does not work very well. Onmyo magic skill points don't do that much for it, and I'm going to tell you a better one here in just a minute. So after that, I did the Weakness Talisman, And this one, I misspoke in the last one. I read something wrong. It wasn't 9%, it was 13%. 13% is how much damage the enemy takes over when you cast the weakness talisman. So they'll take 13% more damage. And this does not increase at all through any Onmyo magic skill points, Onmyo magic power. You can stack it as much as you want. It's going to stay at 13%. Now, the last time I did not test the Devigor talisman. I honestly even forgot it was there. I rarely ever use the thing. But so I tested it this time, and I will be honest with you. As far as it goes, this is the defensive casting ability. This is the defensive Onmyo magic you should take. Because right at level 30, it was a 55% decrease to the amount of attack power they had. And that was huge. Because like in my testing, I started off at 762. That was the main line. When a giant toad hits me with the spear, it was always 762 damage. And after I cast it at level 30, only took 342 damage. So it was a 55% decrease. And this one also, like the other one, only gets a 0.3% increase every 10 levels that you level. Now, I'm going to tell you the best part about all this testing. I found something really, really good. So, the Carnage Talisman, even though it gets no benefit from Onmyo skill points, it gets none, it's either 82% or 107% damage increase if you use the Devigor Talisman on the enemy before you use Carnage. You only take a 9% damage increase. It almost completely cancels out the negative part of the Carnage Talisman. So if you haven't tried it, give this a try. It is probably one of the best combinations to use that I have found so far. So definitely go out there and try it out, because it is pretty powerful. Well, that's going to do it for the video today. If you liked it, hit that like button and subscribe if you're new, and I will see you on the next one.